Hello and a warm Collisions YYC. Welcome to my guest this morning, Mr. Andrew Bullied. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm really good, man. Thank you so much for coming on. You and I, it's Calgary. I think we originally met somehow 10 years ago. I've known of you guys, and of course, Calgary's the biggest small town ever. So if you stay involved, you know about businesses, but you and I actually haven't chatted. So I'm excited to have you come on to not only talk a little bit about the journey your business has been on, which we were talking off air, is 10 years. So that's an accomplishment unto itself. And you're also in an interesting sector that's going through a lot of change. So that's my launch off point, but I'm going to give you the microphone. Welcome to the show. And I'm on your website, annexales.com, but I think it's more complicated than just saying the URL. So I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a little bit of the Annex story, and we'll go from there.
Right on. Yeah, I appreciate it. And I really appreciate being on today. As you mentioned, Calgary, big city, small town. There's always only kind of like 2 or 3 Kevin Bacon heads between everyone I know, I noticed. So yeah, we just really appreciate being part of the pod today. Yeah, so Annex, as we mentioned offline, we just found out this week that we'd incorporated 10 years ago, and it kind of just really blew our hair back. Myself and Erica, my co-founder. Yeah, so I guess when we first got into this, we got into this about 2015. I had just left another job at Village Brewery. I was consulting with a company called Banded Peak. And yeah, we were in the process of trying to land on our own 2 feet in this industry that was absolutely exploding all over North America. I think our the original version of the vision, which again has been kind of evolving over time, was we were trying to fundamentally change the way that people drink. It was very pub and sports bar heavy. It was very, light lager focused. There was just like kind of this monoculture in bars that existed. And we thought that we could probably impact that in a very small way. But we never really had visions of taking over beer or craft beer. We just wanted to do this like tiny little addition to the whole. And that's where the idea of the Annex came from in the first place. Like, we wanted to be able to offer a different space and a different experience, and emulate what was going on in the Pacific Northwest, most specifically. So your Portland, your Seattles, your Vancouvers, and we're just really drawn into the experience of drinking craft beer in those sort of areas. So we decided that we were going to try to bring that to Calgary. I think the biggest thing for us from the get-go was the ability for Annex to be able to have a tap room that people could engage with. Mm-hmm. The laws were changing in such a way that we could finally approach the consumer directly. And so we just wanted to make it very clear, like, you got the butcher for your meat, you got the baker for your bread, you got the brewer for your beer. Come see us, come have a fresh beer experience, and we'll take you on this journey to the Pacific Northwest, to this, these places that we were trying to be like, so we could talk about the beers and the flavors and the experience. And there's no TVs, there's no sports. Like, you're here with us, you're here with one another. And yeah, that was what we were trying to do from the get-go, and that's been it's been kind of our North Star from since we've launched Annex.
That's amazing. You touched on it a little bit. The change in regulations around that time was what drove that. Was it, oftentimes you see government getting in the way more than getting out of the way. But I felt at that time, and I know Graham Sherman, and I know a few people in the space, and it feels like the government kind of got out of the way with a lot of pushing and prodding. Is that, am I oversimplifying it, or is that kind of what happened at that time?
I don't. It actually might be that simple. There's this artificial floor that we had to meet that said, you have to make this much beer, which didn't even have to exist in the first place. I think they just acknowledged that was meant to be a barrier to entry. I'm not quite sure what was there in the first place. Let's just assume some corporate body was pushing into government and saying, let's try to keep as many people out of the brewing industry as possible.
That's what it sounded like to me at that time, because it was a X amount of liters, and it felt like an arbitrary number that was exceptionally high from a barrier to entry point.
It was exceptionally high. So, I remember when I started with Village, they had kind of met this requirement, but it was always fairly theoretical. It's like, okay, if we have a brewery this size and we could make this many hectoliters, then we could get to the number. I think it was like 40,000 hectoliters a year or something like that. It was insane.
So they based it on, if you had this size of facility, this many vessels, this many, like, whatever, technically you should be able to, but no one was coming in, putting it in a measuring cup.
That's right. That's exactly it. So yeah, you could go in and be like, yeah, bar napkin math. Yeah, sure. Whatever. I think you guys can hit this.
Okay.
But I mean, effectively, they're trying to make sure that you had to put in, a certain amount of capital to be able to get
a super capital intensive business from that perspective, right?
It's certainly
Setting up a brewery there's nothing about that sounds cheap to do. Sorry, low cost. Cheap is a bad word. Low cost to do.
Well, it can be done cheaply for sure, but it's never low cost.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah. So for you guys, 2015, you went from working. So just talk to me a little bit. We don't have to get too much into it because I want to get into how the market's changing and how you guys are adapting. But like, it's still capital intensive to a certain extent. Did you get fundraising? Did you have partners come in? How did you guys go from, you said I left a job to open my own brewery. That's a big dream for a lot of people. It's also a big jump.
It was a huge jump. When we got into this in the first place, I had no idea what I was doing. And Erica had no idea what she was doing.
Sometimes that's a gift, isn't it?
Yeah, if we had known, we probably would have never done it.
The famous entrepreneur's last words. Yeah, absolutely. If I would have known, I would have done it probably, but I maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, properly or not at all. One of the two.
Yeah.
Eric and I were both fortunate enough that we'd been working with other small businesses, so we got to watch them go. I had been with Village Brewery from the get-go. My co-founder and wife, Erica O'Gorman, had been with Village Ice Cream from the get-go. And so we got to kind of watch the experience of, starting at a very small level in the case of Village Ice Cream, and starting at a larger level, brewery specific with Village Brewery. And then once I left Village, I went over to Banded Peak, and they were doing something similar. Like they were also putting together a brewery, and they were in a funny space because like the ability to have a tap room hadn't really been established when they were getting up and running. So they were going to be a little bit more on premise and retail focused. So again, I got to work with these guys and help them get going, teach them how to brew professionally, which wasn't something that a lot of people knew how to do back then. And they were,
and that was your background, right? You were the guy that brewed the beer.
I was, yeah. So I was the head brewer at Village for 5 years. I was one of the few people who had just come out of brew school, because there weren't very many brew schools back then either.
Interesting.
I was part of Canada's
I'm curious. Was there a fireside chat with mom and dad going, Andrew, you're going to do what? You're signing up for what school? Which sounds like you were kind of early to the game on that one, Canada wise, anyways.
I just left university, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, of course. And there was this, there was a brew school that was starting up, and that really intrigued me. I'd been homebrewing at university, and I'd been selling wine to the rugby team to be able to fund my beer brewing.
That's a good origin story, man. That's great. I love it.
I was bootlegging wine in a small.
You took the next words. I was like, the word bootlegging is coming on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah. This podcast doesn't go to government agencies.
Oh, I think statute of limitations is long run out on that one, man. That was 30 years ago. I was 6. I don't even remember what was happening. Oh, that's amazing. So you entered, how long did you go to brew school? Brewmaster
It was 2
school?
years. Yeah. So it was in,
legit. Okay. That's a legit period of time. Yeah, it wasn't a weekend. It wasn't a weekend course, is what you're telling me.
No, it was not a weekend course. No, it was actually, it was kind of intense because they were establishing a brew school. Like we were the first class. We were this group of guinea pigs. We were putting on the parachute after getting out of the airplane. Like they were writing the curriculum as we were going through it. Very cool.
And so you guys decided to go, and it's awesome. You and I were joking off air about, been doing this podcast for a while. The first podcast I ever did, I started in 2018, and Billy Friley was one of my first 3 guests to talk really about the origin story for Village. Yeah, absolutely.
Again, yeah, just a couple of Kevin Bacon heads there, right?
Yeah, 1 degree of separate for sure. But I think Billy was maybe guest number 2, because I picked some safe people I knew could talk and knew to tell a good story. I was like, okay, these are safe guests. I'll give it a try. And Billy was one of my, and such a great story, because at the time, there was a lot of people like, oh, Village, and that's so, and some people would look at it from the outside, maybe like you guys, like, oh, it's so fortunate. You're so lucky to have this business. And you're like, oh, wait a second. Let me tell you how hard I've worked to be this lucky, right? And I saw that with Village in the early days. Oh, that's so cool to have an ice cream store. I'm like, man, I remember when Billy was hustling ice cream during January at some of the office towers downtown to get the brand out there. So that's no easy path to start a brewery or an ice cream shop or any small business for that matter.
There's nothing that will teach you to be a salesperson like a failing business.
Everybody's selling. Absolutely. So for you guys, did you open the tap room and kind of get into market at the same time? Did it come together, or was there a bit of a stage I could find you on the shelf and you were working on the tap room, or how did that all kind of fall together timing wise?
It was a bit of both. When Van de Peek started, they were going to be on premise only. So bars and restaurants only. And then they threw together a tap room at the very last minute. So it was tap room and on premise. Annex started with tap room on premise. We were bottling and going into retail, which was like pretty unheard of for smaller breweries. At that, for that 1 or 2 years that there were very few of us. And we were also releasing non-alcoholic product too. We had started
at the same time. Okay,
our very first product.
Oh, and I'm assuming also, I know we're going to touch on this, how the world and the consumption of alcohol, on the top of your head, do you even statistically, I keep hearing stats on the decrease, but had that started happening in 2015, or is just something you hear more in the media in the last couple of years?
It's something you hear more about post-COVID with a new generation coming up. And I think it's being talked about a whole lot more. I'm not quite sure if the impact of people not drinking is as big as the media reports it. I think that it is
the media overstating what? It makes for a good headline. But I certainly, my 22-year-old nephew, my 25-year-old niece, compared to myself or people I knew at that same age, X amount of years ago, it does appear different. And that's my case study of 2 right there, right? Mm-hmm.
It feels different for sure. Although, we just went into our homecoming at St. FX, and it did not feel that different.
Okay. Everybody
Kids
was
are
still
losing
having
shoes
drinks
in the street. God help them. It's like, you know what? I'm not sure this is entirely right.
But at the same time, anyway, we're not going to commentate. We're not. No one's endorsing binge drinking and all the negativity and talking about experiencing different beers, different flavor profiles from different geographies. We're not talking about getting shit-faced. My words, just to be clear. No. But it does seem like society. And so, but you guys started with non-alcoholic right out of the gate. That's interesting. What was that? Was that just a diversification strategy or just something you believed in offering to the customer?
It's something that I always wanted to do. I just I kind of like root beer. And I was like, I want to try this out. It seems easy, and it was not.
Cool, nice. I like the honesty. Yeah, nice. Don't be fooled. Soda's not easy just because it does because it might look simple.
Well, part of working with Van de Peek, that deal I had going with them is like, listen, I'm going to help you guys do this, but I want to use your equipment. And that was
experiment.
A part of my motivation. So we were actually able to get into the market with our non-alcoholic beverages while we were building Annex at the same time. So we're going out to these trade shows, these beer trade shows, and we're showing up these 1 liter cans of root beer and pouring out drinks for people at beer trade shows, just to build a little bit of buzz for the brewery.
And so, what makes root beer harder is more difficult than beer, just to do 1-to-1 comparison.
Well, beer's got 4 ingredients you got to deal with. Root beer, I mean, the way that we make root beer is 13. So
okay, well, right there, just
balance is difficult. I was doing test batch after test batch after test batch, and then I got to 36, 38 test batches or something like that. And it doesn't really sound like a lot until you fuck something up 35 times in a row. It doesn't feel like a lot.
Dude, that's like a Thomas Edison story or whatever. Yeah. The last one just happened to work after 800 before it or whatever the numbers are. Interesting. And so in that case, are you your own worst critic? Are you the taster? Are you bringing in friends? Are you bringing in the sommeliers of root beer because you must get a little bit blind to your own flavors sometimes.
Well, I was. And I think one of the most critical things was to spend time with Erica on it because she's got this really advanced palate from, after we left university. She went to culinary school just after I'd gone to brew school. So she came back and I was working on this and really banging my head against the wall. And she was like, it's the wintergreen, man. Deal with the wintergreen situation and everything else will fall into place. And so, she really kind of led the process in the later iterations.
So having that external somebody to come in and give you that feedback and be like, because I'm sure you literally get blind to your own flavors after a while.
You just keep, it was really, towards the end there, it was really, really hitting a wall. So having the external influence was really
developing that palate. You touched on it is Is that something everyone can do it if they practice, be deliberate about it? Some people just have the gift. It's one of those things that's easy to look at and go, oh, that's like a superpower. I don't have that power. But these people that have the power also have worked their butts off typically to get it. I don't know. What's your perspective on that? Just for the fun, just for the shits and giggles of it.
I think just in terms of tasting, everything can be trained. I mean, we're all born with essentially the same abilities. It's just the focus. And when you talk to people about what they're tasting, no one knows how to put it into words, but people do understand the different nuances of flavors. And once you can actually like give them the words to be able to talk about it, then you can always see the gears turning. And that's one of the funnest things about what we get to do.
I really like that. Like we have the sensation, but we don't always have the dialogue because we haven't trained it, practiced it, learned it. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. I don't.
And I think that's why
not knowing what
like
words
engaging.
to use. Yeah.
That's why people like engaging with any sort of culinary experience, in my opinion. It is challenging a part of their brain that has always existed, but isn't really verbalized.
Oh, I really like that. That makes it so much more approachable and so much more not this elitist skill, but yet something it's not luck. You're not lucky that you have that palate. You worked at it, but everyone can have that same opportunity. Yeah, practice. So you guys, right away, you open in the early years, just playing around with, was it 90% alcohol sales, 10% beverage sales, or has it always been kind of a balance that's moved around over the course of the last 10 years?
It's probably been, I mean, in the early years, no more than 4 or 5%.
Okay. So definitely definitely the small
amount of attention, but.
And did that drive people in? Was it like, I don't want to use the word lost leader, but did it work really well to get your name on people's radar?
Yeah, it was a completely different thing. And it always has been a very different thing for our brewery until the last few years. But yeah, like no one would bother focusing on non-alcoholic because why would you? I mean, that's not what we're really trying to do as a craft brew industry. People are chasing craft beer, and that is totally valid. The equipment does different stuff though, and that's what we like about it.
You don't have a separate room, like you don't need separate gear. You just need to have it dedicated to producing that. Is that a bit of a balance for you? Like taking pieces of equipment offline from the brewing process to move over to soda? Like I'm sure that's also a balance from you back to your North Star, but also just resource management.
It is always a consideration with a production team. And we're very clear with our production team that this is something that we do. This is a very important aspect of our company. And you don't really get to not enjoy doing one thing, or not enjoying doing something while doing the other. And sometimes, a lot of times for the brewers, it'll be like, I just came here to make beer. I didn't come here to make soda. So we're pretty selective with who we hire and who we keep around for that reason. Like we want to make sure that people are enjoying all of the products that we make, because they require the same amount of time, attention, and love, really.
And for that consumer looking for that experience, if you want one, it's equally valuable to them because that's what matters to them, right? And if you think about it through their lens, you're providing someone with equally of a positive experience because that's what they're interested in.
We have to, as a leadership team, we have to keep everyone focused on what the end consumer wants and why we're trying to do this in the first place. So there's really no point in trying to spend less time or give it less attention or treat it any less differently than the beer.
Well, I like it. Start with what matters to the consumer and work back from there. And that levels all that stuff out. How far are you guys playing in advance? Like if I'm going to buy my summer fashion, it's a weird reference, summer fashion 2026, I'm probably going to start seeing that on the shelves in January, February. How cyclical is taste? Or are you like, no, there's some fundamentals that we follow, or, hey, we think this is trending in this direction. We're going to get something to try to intersect where the market and I know that maybe sounds like a fool's errand, trying to chase the taste of the market, but your batches are always brewed today and served, the proverbial tomorrow.
Well, we go about 6 months in advance for all of our beers. So even now we are thinking about what these summer releases are going to be.
Okay.
So we're planning the flavors, the holes that are going to be in our product offering at any given time. Because obviously when we go into bars and restaurants, we want to have the broadest offering we can possibly give them. To make sure that, as bar managers and restaurateurs are putting together their menus, they can have a comprehensive coverage of everything that's going to complement their menu.
Okay. Which makes sense.
So we did the same thing with our sodas. The sodas actually require even more forethought now because we've since gone through a redesign. that requires, we have to have boxes and labels and nutrition facts and everything. Soda's much more complicated than beer is for those reasons. So we've got to be like really far ahead of releasing a new product. And if we release a new product, we have to make sure it's dialed.
Interesting. Okay. Just because it's treated, it falls into a different category.
It does now. We used to do some small batch sodas, which was a lot of fun because it enabled us to play with different recipes. So we have, we have a backlog of soda recipes that we haven't introduced into our core lineup.
Are these in a vault somewhere?
Yeah, kind of.
Nice. There's a ledger that's all dusty that you open up with all the recipes and potions.
Yeah. The world's easiest ledger to get into. They're hiding somewhere in the cloud.
That's awesome. Yeah, of course. I'm being ridiculous. Obviously.
To blow the dust off an ancient book.
The movie version in my mind of the ancient recipe book that's found and it makes for a good marketing gimmick.
I wish we had that much reverence for it. I think, yeah.
It's just been accumulated over 10 years. So 4 to 5% of sales. How much has that shifted as you guys have, as this world is changing and demand is increasing? And also sounds like you're putting more focus on it deliberately as not just a small batch, but as a thing that is a cornerstone to your company. So
it's about 35% of our volume now.
Oh, interesting.
Which is great. It's been growing steadily ever since. We've been adding flavors to our lineup over the years. And yeah, it's turned into something that like just has grown very organically. It's become like a huge part of our revenue and a huge part of the Annex experience, and a huge part of what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, that's amazing. When you're making soda, is it flavor? Is it the amount of sugar that's in it? Like, what are consumers like? What's the real drivers? Is it like, oh, I'm seeing orange soda. Like, I would probably try that, but I would spin it around, see what's in it before I tried it. Cause sometimes soda just means crazy amounts of sugar. And as we all learn that sometimes sugar is probably a villain, but in liquids, it can show up so easily. Like, does the consumer care about that? Do you guys focus on that as part of the process?
We talk about it all the time. People
right
are
on.
Very curious about sugar. And we made a conscious decision, especially this last year as we were going through this rebrand and working with Gentle Line Communications, and exactly what we were trying to do. Like, we could have gone the way of less sugar like everyone else, but we've decided that we're effectively inventing this premium soda market. Okay. And premium soda it's a treat. It's a mindful indulgence. And because of that, we are not going to brew it with any sort of compromise. I find that there's all these functional sodas out there and people are loving them, and that's really fantastic. I think that premium beverages and functional beverages are going to be what drives this market. The research I've done suggests that that's probably where we're going to be seeing a lot of growth in the next few years. But fundamentally, we have decided that we keep this a full sugar indulgence because it's meant to be tasted, it's meant to be enjoyed. It's supposed to. We're trying to bring a level of respect back to something that has turned into such a commodity.
Yes, it has. Mindful indulgence. That's the quote of the day, Andrew. I'm going to use it. I will be using that in a sentence later today. I love it. But I really appreciate how much you guys own that. And it's like, no, you're probably not drinking 17 of these, but if you're going to have one, we want you to really enjoy it. We want to kind of blow your mind a little bit. My words, but that's what I'm hearing you say.
And that's what we're trying to do. Like, this is why this fits well on menus. Like we don't need a macro soda on a menu that's been thoughtfully curated. If you're going to have something non-alc, which you totally should be doing, and that's where the market's going, then it should be something good and enjoyable. It shouldn't be this joyless, macro experience.
There are some joyless macro products out there in the soda category. Like, oh, try this. I'm not going to name them, but they literally taste like shit, man. That's like, I will be bold when I say that. Like, I'll just drink water, but this is my alternative option. This is terrible.
Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to do. It's really about keeping super focused on what is the most fun and the most joyful experience for the consumer. And yeah, it's gonna have some sugar in it. It's okay to have some sugar sometimes.
You said it's a treat. It's a premium soda. It's a mindful indulgence. It's intentional. And I love how much you owned it and how clear you guys were and how well you've thought that through. So I love how you answered that question. Hell yes, it has sugar in it. And here's why, Tyler.
It's good sugar too. It's it's organic cane sugar. It's really good stuff. Like, we spent
back to the word premium. Everything about the ingredients. Like, you're not going to get a premium output if you don't have premium inputs, right? You're not trying to use stepped on sugar from some third world. Yeah. Anyways, the sugar industry is a whole other with the commentary. We could have another podcast on. Does this also open doors for other markets, like markets where you wouldn't have got, like Annex wouldn't have been on the menu or available, but now all of a sudden because you have this soda, people are like, oh yeah, let's bring you in. Like it's like at 35%, it's got to be opening some cool doors for you as a business.
It opens great doors in bars and restaurants. It's and this is where we're having a lot of really good experiences. But like, there's a lot of other places that it could work, like spas and great hotels. I mean, we can work with, we want to use this as a vehicle to work with a lot of the organizations that we like working with in Calgary, because, there's so many people that are trying to get beer sponsorships in and things like that. And we can actually kind of talk about getting our brand out there in a very different way, which that opens up doors for us. And, obviously, we're in grocery retail, and there's a lot of work to do in that. We could be getting into convenience stores. We could be getting into there's tons of places to go with this, which is nice because it's a gigantic market. Mm-hmm. But I mean, one of our favorite places to go is to just work with bars and restaurants, because the complements to the rest of the drinking culture links back to what we've been trying to do from the get-go, which has changed the way that people drink. So this lines up with our original vision that we get to be consistent with all the way through. And that's why the sodas are so important to us as a company.
I love it. I great job as a leader, bringing it right back to, okay, let's remind ourselves what we got into this game for in the first place. So I really appreciate that. 100% of sales. How much is Alberta? How much is outside?
Oh, it's like 99% Alberta.
Okay. I know cross-border with alcohol can be challenging. I've heard that from different people. I've got a place out in Water Valley. My neighbors are the Fallen Timber Meadery. So I've chatted with the owners a little bit about their whole journey of trying to get it into other markets. And they're like, it's just almost not worth it by the time you pay costs and tax. And, so much of their market is here in Alberta. So I've chatted with them a little bit about it. But soda is a whole other game. Is that a borderless world now with sodas in terms of Canadian, at least?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's just a question of like, how far do you want to drive water?
Yeah, absolutely. What's it actually look like?
It's heavy. It's like the price per liter on it is much less than it is with alcohol. So alcohol does make some sense to drive, into other jurisdictions if you're not considering the cost incurred with working with different governments and different forms of distribution. Soda has fewer barriers to entry in other jurisdictions, but again, like people are just automatically paying less for it because it's a non-alcoholic product. Yeah.
So, and does that like as a product, and I want to get into detail, is it a lower margin product, like in terms of you've got to do more of it to be profitable in the same way? Just because alcohol notoriously, especially in bars, restaurants, the markups are insane in terms of like, man, I just paid 350, 400% more than I would have paid if I bought this at the liquor store, kind of. But we all know that, but we do it because it's part of the culture.
The margins are about the same as beer, but again, like we're selling a liter of it for less. So you end up, making less.
Percentage wise margin, but dollar wise is a different story. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. And the only way to really do this at a large scale is to make investments into the packaging format so that you can bring your cost of goods down enough that you can offset like, your brokers, your distribution. And then you start talking about getting into paying fees with grocery stores, like to be on the planogram, you've got to start paying into the system. Alcohol doesn't.
We could do a whole other podcast on that game, because I know a lot of people that sell into that space, and it's not. It doesn't sound enjoyable. They are the bully in that situation.
It's the part of the market that we have to work with, and we're lucky right now in that we've got something that not as many people are doing. We're working with some great retailers right now that are treating us well, especially in like, the locals programs, and we get special shelf placement just by being a small company that's producing locally. And that's important to a lot of consumers, which means it's important to grocery stores.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. From an exposure and a growth perspective, like how challenging has it been to kind of just simply get the word out there? Is it word of mouth? Is it like, has there been some marketing tactics, and that's a broad bucket, that have really worked well? And also you've just been in the game for a while, so your name just starts to get known. So like sometimes sticking around can, it creates brand equity just because you outlasted ones that didn't.
We have, we're kind of in this lucky place that when we show up in the marketplace, some people will look at us and be like, I didn't know that Annex made beer. which I both love and hate hearing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, I was at a beer festival in Edmonton this weekend, and people are like, wow, I see the sodas everywhere, but I didn't know that you guys made beer. And it's like, oh man, we're primarily a brewery. That sucks.
But to your point, it opened the door, and at least they're having the conversation with you. But yeah, I could feel that being like, when your clients don't, when your customers are like, oh, I didn't know you did that. You're like, how the hell did you not know I did XYZ thing?
Yeah, I've made 195 unique beers, and you've never heard of them.
But now that you had, what would you like to try? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Here are 7 of them. Let's have a couple.
So my question is, are the sodas actually opening up your market, even the beer side? The answer is clearly yes, based on what you just said.
Yes, it is. And so one of the focuses we decided to put on this year is kind of what we were talking about offline. Annex used to have a very clear delineation between all of the different products we'd make. So Annex Ales was like our core brand of our beers. The Annex Ale Project was all of the fun stuff that we do. So when I talk about making 195 beers, we do a lot of one-offs, and that's just to kind of satisfy the beer consumer that wants new and exciting, bold flavors, and they want to be challenged with the things that they're
and it goes right back to your original mandate and who your original customer was, like providing that experience.
Yeah.
And I love the scarcity. We get too used to getting everything we want. This is limited edition. It's done and it's over. Move on. Like I do appreciate we get too much sent to us on a conveyor belt. I like a little scarcity too.
Well, and we like doing that too. Like one thing that we've really focused on over the last years is not being too precious about a brand.
Yeah.
So
don't fall in love. Don't fall in love. She's here for she are here for a short time.
Yeah, here for a good time, not a long time. So
yeah, I love it.
That's always been a big thing for us. And then we had the sodas on top of that. So we're trying to apply the craft beer ethos to soda. We've got 5 brands now. As mentioned, we've got the that big dusty book full of soda recipes.
Totally.
We're trying to like do some new and interesting stuff with soda too. And we've just gotten to the point now where we're told like, you guys have a strong enough brand now that just you don't need that delineation. Just like own who you are. Let's lose the Annex Ale Project. Let's lose Annex Ales. Let's lose Annex Sodas. Just Annex.
Well, the gift of being a little bit more known, and you can simplify, and Annex means X, and I'm curious what they're going to have on offer today. Like allowing the consumer to understand who you are from a broader perspective, which is kind of a growing up. It's kind of a rite of passage. It's kind of a maturity of your brand. Which congrats. Not everyone makes it to there, right?
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. And I think there's
awesome.
Obviously there's more work to do. So we're going to keep hammering at this But
never done, Andrew. Never done.
No.
Never done. How competitive is the soda space compared to how have things like 2015, you said things were on fire. I remember when there was craft breweries popping up everywhere. It certainly felt that way anyways as a consumer, which was exciting. It wasn't just Budweiser and Coors Light or whatever it was. Has that, where are we now on that cycle 10 years later? And now that you add soda into it, how's that kind of leveling out?
Well, I think as craft beer changes and as the drinking demographic changes, craft beer is going to disrupt almost every beverage category on its way up or its way up or out, however it's going to work.
Yeah.
But people are drinking. We're selling 4% less beer all over North America on an annual basis. Okay. But some of the bigger breweries they still continue to grow because many breweries have realized that they have the ability to diversify. So we're talking ready to drink cocktails, we're talking hard iced teas, we're talking non-alcoholic ready to drink cocktails. We're talking, there are so many more beverage categories available to us than ever before. And Annex has always done soda, which is great. It hasn't been a reactionary thing for us. Okay. There are more people getting into different categories of beverage as a reaction to beer slowing down, which you can assume is normal. Some are doing it well, some are not doing it well. But I think that the consumer has more choice available to it in both the alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverage sector than ever before.
Yeah, I was just going to say the win of all this is more options, more choice, more personalization. The more you being able to choose. I'm going to a bar and I can only pick these 4 things, or if I'm not drinking, I'm the odd person out. That's done now, which I love. But the variety of I don't have to have booze, but I could have something equally enjoyable. I can mindfully indulge in something different. I think that really empowers the consumer. Back to don't lose sight of who we're serving, right?
And the interesting shakeout of this is that where production of most of the beverage, the commodity beverage would have been very centralized in a small amount of production facilities. Now we've got these production facilities all over the place.
Like back to the beer, like, oh, I'm in Vancouver. What beers can I find? I'm in Portland. I'm in Calgary. What sodas do they have here that I'm not going to get anywhere else?
That's right. So you're gonna find these products all over the place just by virtue of the fact that we've got so many different points of production. Like, there's 45 different breweries in Calgary. Like these are all operating.
Is that what it is? 45? That's good. That's a good stat. And back in 2015, there was how many? 5, 10? Again, top of your head.
Like, 5.
Yeah, that's interesting. And everyone's to be able to carve out space. If you look at globally, go to maybe more beer, European cultures, European cities, is the same thing happening there, or is this more of a North American phenomenon?
I think traditionally it used to happen in Germany quite a bit. Like a lot of the German breweries would also produce non-alcoholic drinks. Not many breweries would be doing non-alc stuff, but a lot are starting to get into that, and a lot of they're making non-alcoholic beer. Like it's obviously something that's blowing up.
And non-alcoholic beer is getting better. It doesn't taste I'll be honest, as crappy as it did 5 years ago.
Well, and the technology's advanced in a way that's like that too has had to evolve, and now some of the giant breweries are making some of their flagship brands, like Asahi and Heineken and Guinness, like. They're driving the non-alcoholic beer market, and they've invested in technology to make sure it actually tastes pretty good.
Non-alcoholic Guinness isn't bad. Surprisingly, the first time I had one, I was like, "This is not horrible." Like I wasn't sure what to expect here. I can live with this. Absolutely, I can live with it. It's still not proper, but it's still the progress is so. Brewing as old as time to a certain degree. So technology wise, is it ways people do it? Is it the chemistry? Is it the equipment? Like everything is advancing, but I'm assuming it stayed the same for quite a while. And like I'm here, you said multiple times, like things have just gotten more sophisticated.
Well, during the craft beer revolution, there's been a lot of additions to the technology as well to make sure that, when we're making hoppy beers, we can make them in a way that we couldn't make before. Like, and even since I've started brewing, the technology's changed, and the hop varieties and like the agronomics have changed. There's been a lot of advance in just how we make beer over the last 15 years, which is really fantastic. And it's a lot of these changes have happened on the small scale.
Through guys like you that are experimenting and have their own shops and have, hey, I'll brew your beer, but I want to use your equipment because I want to play around. I want to try different things. That's a cool journey.
And then you consider guys like, my favorite example is cask canning, because it's they invented micro canning, and they're a Calgary company. They've got canning lines all over the world, but canning and bottling lines, they used to be $1 million+ dollars. And now you can buy a canning line for $200K. So
the accessibility. Yeah. I knew that was a Calgary-based thing. I just didn't know the company name.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's so nice, like having them in town, because obviously whenever there's problems, they're ready.
They could just show up.
Yeah.
Versus having somebody to fly a tech in from the other side of the world to fix your line that's now down for 6 weeks or something silly like that.
Yeah. So we're really lucky to have that, and it's just really cool to see all of the adjacent support industries that have also developed alongside brewing, and
all the auxiliary stuff, the picks and shovels that you don't talk about. So okay, Andrew, you and I we're gonna go on a 3-city tour for sodas, for mindfully indulgent sodas. I'm gonna use the shit out of this today. I love it so much. And also kind of a micro. Would we still go to Portland? Like where would we buy our plane tickets? We're going on an inspiration. Tyler and Andrew are going on an inspirational tasting trip. Where would we go?
You might go to Denver. You might go to Vancouver, San Diego. You'd probably go out to the East Coast of the States. Get into Maine. Get into There's so much going on in the States. But Calgary's a hub of innovation. It's great to see. Like a lot of brewing conferences are coming to this city. Vancouver's great. Toronto's great. One of my favorite beer cities in the world is Halifax.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've heard that before. Well, you've got, back to your point, the culture influences, right? What's the social culture? How do people interact? And then how does this lifestyle or this whole scene kind of emerge out of that, right? You're going to get the flavors from the local, how people are to hang out.
Well, it's one of those things, every time we come back from vacation, the staff is just like, watch out, because they're going to come back with a bunch of ideas that we're going to probably have to make happen right away.
Nice. And is it pretty open when you show up? Do you roll in and go, "Hey, I'm Andrew. I'm from Calgary. I own this. I'd love to talk to your brewmaster. I'd love to talk with you guys." Is it a community?
It's a total community. It's really nice. You can pop into anyone's bar. We're not shy about who we are, what we're doing there. Like we want to sit down and have conversations. So even when we're away, we're kind of working a little bit, but.
Well, because you're working at something you love, which looks a lot like not work, but because I'm a small brewery owner in Halifax, and you roll in, I'm probably I'm not very fearful about you coming stealing my market. Like there's probably a sense of just like, hey, more than happy to chat with you, because you know what, I'll probably learn something, you learn something. You're in Calgary, I'm in Halifax. We're not competing, but we're raising the tide of the whole experience.
And that's just it. I mean, we're part of organizations that are like, buying groups that are centered in the East Coast of Canada. We have friends all through the country. Sometimes we do collaboration beers that are never going to make it to one another's markets, but we just do it because we happen to be in the same city and we want to do something fun. So you always end up learning something from someone else, and then you get to invite them over to your shop. And I love hosting other breweries at our place because like we're proud of what we do, and we want to be able to show off a little bit. So.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I had a sense that that's what it would be like. So I'm glad that my fantasy in my mind was actually real of how it showed up. Obviously, you guys are going through like 4% to 5% to now 35% volume. If we fast forward out a few years from now, what's the crystal ball look like? And I know that's a tough one. Is it 50-50? Do you see just the sodas continuing to evolve? What are your thoughts when you look at the business?
I hope that the sodas do continue to evolve. We're doing some work with some brokers to try to push this out a little bit further. Like I want to bring this out and share this experience with Western Canada. The brewery is only so big. We might hit capacity on the brewery in the next couple of years. And I kind of only want to keep our beer in Alberta for the most part. Okay, cool. Operationally, it's just easier. I want to make sure that the beer's fresh because that's an important point to the consumer. And the further it gets from the brewery, the less likely it is to be fresh, and the worse it's has potential to taste. So I think maxing out what we do in terms of beer is really important to us. Continuing to build the taproom experience, continuing to invite people into our space, and spread the message of like, we don't do the game all the time. We're not always, continue to focus on the experience of drinking something new, be with the people that you're with. And just enjoy Calgary and the neighborhood that you're in, and try to be just a little bit more mindful about that's important to us. We can continue to grow soda, which is fun for us. So that's kind of the long-term vision here.
I love it. How long? Sorry, weird detail. But from the moment a beer goes in a can, what's ideal? How long does it depend on the beer, or is there like, you should drink that thing within a couple of weeks, or what is the timeline on that?
Very beer style dependent. So
like
big bold hoppy beers are going to deteriorate a lot faster than
that makes sense. The more bold and the more bold the flavor profile, the more it's going to like mellow out.
Yeah. So hoppy beers, if they're stored cold all the time, like 60 to 90 days.
Okay. And being in cans really helps too, right? Because that really keeps it controlled.
That's right.
Yeah, I've heard that. Like once that became accessible and you could can things, it kind of changed the serviceability of. So funny. I grew up in Quebec, and I grew up in the maple syrup culture, and it's funny. Like up to the 50s, it never lived much far outside of Quebec until they invented canning that they could do when it was hot and can it, and that's when it started proliferating across North America. But it was just a random it was the technology of canning that actually got more people access to real maple syrup, because before that it just wouldn't keep.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it was in the late 50s. I was doing that my own journey around the history of maple syrup, which I moved to Alberta and I was quite disappointed with the maple syrup that people get access to here. So I've been importing a bunch of gallons. I'll get you some next year. We just ran out. So I think we brought in 75 gallons of Quebec maple syrup from my family's farm this year. Cool. Just because Albertans deserve better maple syrup, but that's my own little personal mission. I'll get you a can, man. We can talk. Speaking of flavor profiles, I think it's more like a fine wine than a breakfast syrup than a breakfast topping, but that's another conversation for another day.
Well, my head's going like, what's going on with that barrel?
Yes, there's some cool stuff. You know what? I actually might have a can. Anyways, I'm gonna look you up afterwards. Mindful indulgence syrup fits right into that for me, because I'm like, I know this is good for me syrup, but man, this is a good time.
People know how good it can get.
Dude, 100%. I was spoiled growing up. I didn't even know it. I just took it for granted. Andrew, obviously annexales.com. Is that all going to be getting collapsed under just annex.com in the future?
No, we've got annexales.com. We've got annexsodas.com.
Yeah.
So both they actually live apart. I think most it has more to do with like how the e-commerce works and things like that.
Yeah, in terms of how people search, how people shop. But I know I can get to your sodas on your annexales.com
That's right.
website. I was on there the other day. I had them all open, but this morning I just popped it up and Annex Ales came up first. So that was the one I landed on. And under shop, you can get to all of your products. Dude, I love your labels. I love your design. I love how you guys made this come alive, man. Like it's 5 stars, man. It looks really good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We work with some really great design teams and, our internal staff, they're doing all of our digital marketing are fantastic.
Oh, they're beautiful and intriguing and interesting at the same time. Like, well done. I'm not just blowing smoke. I really like them. They're awesome, man. They're really good. That makes me, again, you drink, you eat with your eyes, your nose, your mouth. Like, it's all part of the experience. When you see that, I'm like, oh, I want to hold this in my hand. I want to give it a go because it's very, very appealing. Nice work. And where's your tap room? I know where it is, but let's tell everybody online. If someone wants to come down and have an experience and be there and cheers you guys, where do they go?
So it's in the Manchester Industrial Park of Calgary. So it's by 39th Ave train station. You can ride your bike there very easily from Stanley Park. So we're connected into the bike network. We actually we petitioned the city at one point to like get bike paths that were like going through that industrial park so that
I know exactly where you're
access. Yeah. But yeah, it's 4323 First Street Southeast. So we've got a patio. Summertime we can fit 250 people there.
Nice.
We've got Little Empire Burger right in our spot. We are the OG location of Little Empire Burger. They've since added 3 more locations. So they're good.
Yeah, 100%. Yes,
and there's always something new going on in the brewery. There's always new beers coming down the pipe. There's a new flavor experience for you there. We're doing hard cocktails with our sodas. There's a light amount of programming that happens from time to time, but we kind of let the beer and the people speak for themselves.
Which is what you guys set out to create right out of the gate, change how people drink. I love it. Andrew, thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for telling the story. Thanks for clearly how passionate you are with this. And I love kind of peeling back the curtain and kind of understanding not only your journey, but where the industry is going. And I love that you guys are local. So yeah, man, high 5 and 5 stars all the way.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I don't get to go off on one person for this long very often. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well played, my friend. Thank you so much.